Welcome, and thank you very much for joining us for today's webinar, which is How Does Being a STEM Ambassador Benefit Me? Just to let you know, the webinar is being recorded and will be made available thereafter. In case you want to share the material or rewatch anything, it will be available on IMechE education web pages. I'll begin by providing a little bit of an introduction as to who I am, why we're doing this, and then I'll pass on to the capable hands of Alex. And we have a few of our regional education officers with us today, with particular thanks to John Butler, who will be supporting Alex. John Butler will do his own introduction, but just a brief note to say he is our Midland Regional Education Officer, and he'll be providing some feedback and sharing his experience with you. So to those of you that don't know me, I'm Untitled Chapter, and I'm the Education Outreach and Safeguarding Lead at the institution. I've been at the IMechE since the beginning of 2019, when I was brought on to lead the education team, and I had responsibility for 4 of our 5 student challenges. My role has slightly changed, and I progressed into a new role, this one now, at the end of last year, and it's fully education focused. This coincided with a couple of things at the IMechE, Alice coming on board and education becoming an institutional priority, sitting alongside climate change and sustainability, future of transport, and the management of infectious diseases. Although this is now an institutional priority, education has been a priority for IMechE members for a very long time. Every time that we have a corporate survey, it is within the top 3, if not the top 3 priorities indicated by our members. And we have one of the largest STEM ambassador cohorts in the country. Just under 10,000 IMechE UK members are registered as STEM ambassadors, and we will go into a little bit of detail as to why today. So today is the start of our 2nd STEM ambassador series. We did a pilot series last year, and Alex will cover in a little bit more detail what we have coming up. I hope you will find today's session useful. Please do engage, use the opportunity to ask questions, and really feel free to ask anything, explore the whole topic. We're approaching this from a slightly different angle. Usually it's sort of like what we can give back, how engineers can give back to society. Today we're turning that on its head a little bit, and going to look at what you will gain from it, how this is good for your careers, and exploring that. So I will pass on to Alex, and thank you very much.
Brilliant. Thank you, Yelena. That's really helpful. Yelena, I'll hand over the admitting people, any late joiners, over to you. Fantastic. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. We really appreciate you giving up an hour of your evening to come on this IMechE STEM Ambassador training call. I'm really pleased to see we've got quite a good turnout tonight. So we've got quite a few participants on the call today. So we're really hoping this is going to be an interactive call. We really want to hear from you and your experiences, if you're either a STEM ambassador already, or if you're not yet and you're considering it. We'd really love to hear your views and your perspectives as we go through the programme tonight. So I'm just going to share my slides so you can see those. And then hopefully you can see that. And just go into sharing those. Okay, fantastic. So hopefully you can see those slides all right. So this is part of a training series of opportunities for you to learn and share with peers, as I mentioned. So this is the first of the ones that we're doing in this new series, but as Yelena said, we did a bunch of online training webinars before, so you're welcome to go on the IMechE website and listen to those back, because we covered loads of useful, interesting topics in those as well. Yelena's already given a bit of an intro to me, but just in case you don't know who I am, I'm Alex Knight. I am a chartered mechanical engineer, so I trained as a mechanical engineer. worked in mechanical engineering and systems engineering and asset management roles for most of my career, in industry for over 15 years. And then I founded the social enterprise STEMazing back in 2019, which is all about inspiration and inclusion in STEM. So I'm really focusing full time now on what we can do to inspire the next generation and support diversity and inclusion in STEM industries. And it's really awesome to collaborate with the IMechE to support IMechE members. I'm a fellow of the IMechE myself. I've done a lot of engagement, being a chartership assessor, getting involved in lots of different IMechE events. And I think it's a fantastic organisation to be a part of and support. So I'm really excited about working with all of you on the call tonight, and hopefully supporting, motivating, inspiring even more STEM outreach in this community. I'm also going to introduce John, who is on the call. So John, if you can turn your camera on so we can see you. And if you're able to do a quick introduction to yourself as well, that would be brilliant, so everyone knows who you are.
Yes, good evening. Thanks, Alice. Can you not see me? My camera is on.
I can see you, yes. Yes. You just didn't pop up. There's too many people on my screen, so you didn't pop up for the moment. But yes, I can see you now, thank you.
Okay. Good evening. I'm John Butler. I'm, as was said in the introduction, I'm the Education Officer for the Midland Region, but I wear several hats for the institution. Under one hat, I'm the Professional Development Consultant, which means I work for the institution, engaging anything to do with membership, aiding people through to fellowship, and also accredit companies who run the Npds, the Monitor Professional Development Scheme. So anything to do with membership, I get involved with that hat on. I'm also a fellow of the institution, and I've been with the Midland region now for something like 20 years, I think. I've been a member of the institution for over 50 years, but actively involved in Midland region for about the past 20 years. I was co-founder of the reformed Birmingham Committee, then chaired it, and then I chaired the Midland region. I've served on council and a few other areas. So my wife used to say, if you cut me in half, you read IMechE through the middle. So that's about me.
Thank you, John. Thank you. I really appreciate your time tonight to help share your expertise and all the great insight that you've got around being a STEM ambassador as well. Super. So in this training series tonight, we are focusing on how does being a STEM ambassador benefit me, so benefit us all as individuals. And we thought we would be, it would be good to focus in this kind of perspective, which maybe is not the kind of, like Yelena said, it's not the normal perspective that we normally have when we talk about STEM outreach. Normally, it's all about giving back, inspiring the next generation, doing the right thing. But actually, to make something sustainable, you need to feel that you're benefiting as well. And there are so many benefits to us as individuals for doing STEM outreach. So we really want to make sure that we kind of emphasize what those are, explore what those are, and make sure that you understand how you can maximize the benefit for you in being a STEM ambassador. So that's what we're focusing on tonight. The next training series and kind of episodes we've got coming up are all about effective STEM outreach for a primary school audience at the next one, which is on the 22nd of September. And then we've got an in-person one at IMechE HQ in London. So that'll be really, really good. And then we've got another one in November. So please do sign up for those in advance so we know how many people to expect. And we will be limiting the numbers for the in-person one. So get your place secured as quick as possible. These are all free to IMechE members. So it'd be really excellent to see as many of you as possible at those up and coming events. Okay, so what we're going to cover today is, for those of you that don't know, and maybe there are some on the call that don't know, we are going to be looking at what is a STEM ambassador and what do they do, more importantly. We're also going to be looking at some common myths around being a STEM ambassador. Maybe some of those have an element of truth in them, so we'll explore what that is. And we're also going to look at what are the challenges. So there are some challenges, and these are real, and it's worth discussing them and sharing ideas about how we overcome those challenges, because we want this to be, you know, not to be a difficult thing to do. We want to make sure that we can enjoy it and that it's as easy as possible for us as STEM ambassadors. And then we will get on to the benefits, because that's what we really want to focus on this evening, the benefits for the individual. So for each and every one of us, what are the benefits? And we also want to leave some space at the end of the session just for open sharing of your experiences as a STEM ambassador, if you've done it already, the kind of ideas you have that make effective STEM outreach, so that we can learn from each other. Because what we found in the last series of online training that we did was that this is one of the things you asked for, that you wanted more of, is the opportunity to share and learn with your peers. So we'll make sure we leave time for that at the end. Okay, so on to the first bit. What is a STEM ambassador? Now, before I go through this, I want to kind of poll the audience and find out from all of you who is actually registered as a STEM ambassador already. So we're going to do that through a Slido poll. So hopefully you will see on your screen that if you go to slido.com, either on another tab on your computer or on your phone, and you type in the code 8919544. So hopefully you can see that on your screen. And there's a poll there for you saying, are you already registered as a STEM ambassador with STEM Learning UK? And there's a few options for you to choose from. Okay, so, oh, that's interesting. Okay, so it's good to see in the audience, we've got some people who are not, some people who are in the process of signing up, some people who are. Okay, excellent. Some people who are considering it. Okay, I'll just leave you another few seconds just to make sure that everyone gets a chance to do that poll. Okay, so it looks like the majority of you that have completed the poll actually know you are not registered as a STEM ambassador already. Oh, we're just getting, it's about neck and neck, yes and no, people who are and people who are not already. And some people are considering it, some people are in the process, and those who are not based in the UK may not be able to sign up as a UK STEM ambassador. So it's interesting to see we've got a bit of a range there. But definitely quite a few people on the call who are not already STEM ambassadors. So that is good, because this next bit of information then should be very useful to you. So what is a STEM ambassador? A STEM ambassador, this is what comes up when you Google it and go to the STEM Learning homepage, when it says, so who are they? Who are STEM ambassadors? And it gives you some ideas, basically, that they are from a vast range of STEM related disciplines and careers. So across the whole breadth of science, technology, engineering and maths, and all those related roles. So it is not just engineers, although it's great to hear that Yelena said the IMechE has got so many STEM ambassadors. So we're really representing engineering there, which is brilliant. STEM ambassadors are age 17 plus and can be at various stages of their career. So we absolutely want STEM ambassadors who are early stage career, so they can talk about their transition from school into industry, or maybe higher education and then into industry. But also equally, we really need STEM ambassadors who are at middle and later stages of their careers, because you bring that experience that you can share with students about what it's like to really work in industry and at various different jobs and at various different kind of levels. So it's really, really great to have STEM ambassadors at all different stages of their career. It's people who want to make a difference. Absolutely. We've mentioned that that is one of the things that's key being a STEM ambassador. It absolutely does impact the next generation. So you do get a feel-good factor from getting involved in that. Interestingly, they say it's 45% female as registered STEM ambassadors. And this is great because we know that diverse role models are really important in influencing and inspiring the next generation. But we need more people to do STEM outreach, full stop. So we absolutely need more men and women to be STEM ambassadors. But it's interesting that considering women are in the minority in STEM, that actually quite almost 50% of them, of the STEM ambassadors, are female. So that's quite interesting. And the last point here, I think, is really important, because this is sort of one of the common myths that I hear a lot, is that I'm not qualified to be a STEM ambassador. But actually, STEM ambassadors may or may not have been to university or even studied a STEM subject. So that's an interesting thing that hopefully we can get into some discussion on, about sort of who is able to inspire the next generation through STEM. Okay, so what we've covered, sort of what is a STEM ambassador, so who are they, but what kind of things do they do? So I'd love for you, if you already are a STEM ambassador, which it sounds like about half the people on the call are, if you are already a STEM ambassador and you've done some STEM outreach already, please put in the chat the kind of thing that you've done. So what kinds of things have you done as a STEM ambassador? Have you done careers talks in school? Have you given activity sort of sessions in classes? Have you gone to primary schools, secondary schools? What kind of stuff? Okay, so Lewis has said he's done a primary school assembly. That's fantastic. That's great. Yeah, assemblies are always really brilliant because you get to see so many children at one time. So it's really great use of your time, effective use of your time. Fantastic. Anyone else want to add? Mock interviews, very, 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 very useful, Yanka. That's very useful. Yeah, mock interviews are fantastic, especially for older students at secondary level or college level or even university level. Amit says, produce a video for sixth form. Amazing. Kadajat said he's done secondary school mock interviews. Okay, that's brilliant. David has said year 8 build a windmill activity day. I love that. That's amazing. Andrea, careers talk, primary schools assembly, careers fair, judging competition, CV advice. Wow, you've done loads. Steve said green power goblin go-karts. Amazing. I need to know more about that. That sounds fantastic. Angela volunteered for something called People Like Me for WISE. Yep. Yanka did a motivate activity at primary school. Amazing. So these are all fantastic things that you have been doing. And if we look on the STEM Learning website about the kind of things it says that STEM ambassadors do, it covers all sorts of things, from visiting primary and secondary schools or hosting primary and secondary schools. So actually hosting them coming into your business. And this could be primary, secondary schools, colleges, youth, community organizations. So not even just schools, it could be broader than that. Deliver a range of activities. So they can do, like we said, some of these things in the chat, which is brilliant. Actually, you know, from career talks to practical workshops. And one of the things that we are supporting you as part of this training series with is those sort of easy and very accessible practical activities that you can run with young people. So if you haven't seen it already, the IMechE has a fantastic range of practical interactive STEM activities called the IMechE STEM at Home range, STEM at Home. And you can Google that and you can have a look at all of the amazing activities on there. And what we're trying to do in our training series with you is to get the opportunity to practice those, because it's so helpful practicing them and running through them to give you the confidence to then lead that session yourself. So in the following sessions, both the online ones and the in-person one, we're going to be covering a few of those practical activities. So they are really brilliant to sort of have in your toolbox to help you be an even more impactful and effective STEM ambassador. So what else do they do? well, this is what it says on this STEM learning website. They've collectively delivered over 500,000 hours of volunteering each year, which is amazing. And what STEM learning say is that they want every STEM ambassador to do at least one voluntary STEM activity each year. So at least one. So that could literally be turning up and doing an assembly at school for, you know, a 20-minute talk, or running a whole day of, say, in Science Week, lots of activities with the whole school. So it really ranges. And a lot of STEM ambassadors, because they end up really enjoying it, they end up doing more than just one activity per year. But that's all you're sort of committed to when you've got the title of STEM ambassador, just to do one a year. So it's brilliant to see the other things coming through in the chat that you said you've been doing. So yeah, so who we've got here, Ali has said, high school assembly and volunteered for My Body is My Body. And Yanka has also volunteered at Big Bang. Big Bang is awesome. If you don't know about that, it's definitely a worthwhile event to get involved with if you can. So yeah, there's lots of things. And what I like in here that STEM Learning have said is that don't forget that it's not just about you going into schools. You can bring young people into your organization and show them what you do in your organization. And there is a lot of coordination around that and organization, making sure that you've done your risk assessments and you've got the safeguarding, and we'll get onto all that. But it is another thing to think about. It's not just about you going to them all the time. They can also come to you sometimes. So yeah, I love the fact that we've got such a range of things that people have already done, and hopefully those that have not done any STEM outreach before and are not already a STEM ambassador can start to get a feel for what a STEM ambassador does and what being a STEM ambassador means. If you also go on the IMechE website, if you go to careers, education, and then STEM ambassador, so there's the link there, you can get even more useful resources about what is a STEM ambassador. And there's a fantastic video, it's just only a really short video, I think it's about 5 minutes, that is on YouTube as well, which is an IMechE video all about becoming an IMechE STEM ambassador. I can see Yelena's put that in the chat. Thank you, Yelena. So highly recommend watching that video to give you an insight into what it means to be an IMechE associated STEM ambassador, and kind of all the resources that are available to support you through the IMechE. So there is a lot of information out there, and sometimes that can even feel a bit overwhelming at times. But if you are considering it, support and the sort of step-by-step process is there for you. So take it one step at a time, and you will get there, but don't feel like it is like a sort of a massive mountain to climb. Really, it is a simple step-by-step process. Okay, so one of the things that's important, as you'll see on this slide, when you sign up to be a STEM ambassador, is getting your DBS check. Okay, so that is a check to prove that there's no safeguarding issues around you working with young people. And quite often you will not be alone with young people anyway. The teacher or another responsible adult will be there, but it's great to get that DBS certificate just to show that, you know, schools will often ask for it, so that there is absolutely no issue with you working around young people. And that's done free of charge. So this is something you otherwise could pay for, but it's done free of charge when you become a STEM ambassador. So that's a fantastic thing that is kind of, they manage that process for you. So they make it easy for you. Okay, so I want to get on to looking at busting some common myths. Now, before we do this, I just want you to have a think. So those of you that are not already STEM ambassadors, what are some of the things maybe that you've been thinking that are holding you back from being a STEM ambassador? So what are the things that you sort of think this is going to be difficult, or maybe I'm not qualified, or I don't know what to do? And start to have a think about those. And if you want to, put them in the chat so we can see the kind of things that you might have been thinking that have been holding you back from becoming a STEM ambassador already. And those of you that are already STEM ambassadors, maybe you've been having some thoughts around things that might hold you back from doing more or doing different types of STEM outreach. So again, if you've been having any of those kind of thoughts as well, feel free to share them in the chat, because it would be good to see what the audience is thinking. But I have lots of conversations with people who are considering being STEM ambassadors as part of the work I do in STEMazing now. And one of the programs that I run is supporting women in STEM to be more confident as visible role models. And some of the comments that I get that are not uncommon, as in I hear them fairly frequently, we've put here on this slide. So maybe some of these resonate with you. And maybe as we go through them, if they do resonate with you, just put in the chat that, yeah, that's, I can identify with that one, or no, that's definitely a myth, it's not true at all. So the first one being, I need to be a technical expert of some sort. And, this is something that I feel people almost have a level of imposter syndrome about, that you need to have certain level of technical knowledge, understanding, experience, qualifications to be able to be a STEM ambassador. John, I don't know if you've come across that one before. Have you had anyone feeling like they need to be more technical before they can be a STEM ambassador?
You often get asked the question before the event, what sort of expertise do I need? And as long as you just talk through it and say, to be honest, nothing, you just need to be interactive with children and be enthusiastic. That's really it. So it's never been a major problem, but yes, I've been asked the question occasionally. Yeah,
and it's something that I frequently have conversations with women about, mainly because I'm targeting working with women, but this idea around, what if I get asked a technical question or a difficult question that I can't answer? And actually, nobody knows all the answers and nobody is an expert in everything. So you can be there and, like you say, inspire and enthuse the children. And it's perfectly okay not to have all the answers. So I would say that's definitely a myth, needing to be a technical expert before you can do STEM outreach. Henry's put, I've never done it before and a bit nervous about being alone with a lot of children. Yet we will definitely get onto that one. Thank you, Henry. And Hannah said, time commitment, wasn't sure where to start getting involved. Yes, yeah, and a very common barrier as well. So we'll get onto that as well.
I'll comment on that Henry one as well when you get onto it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, John. Another one linked to sort of technical expert is that people feel they need to be working in a STEM role before they can be a STEM ambassador, or to be, a valid person inspiring others about STEM. And again, it even said that on the STEM Learning website, on their front page about being a STEM ambassador, is that not all STEM ambassadors are working in a STEM role. Not all STEM ambassadors have STEM qualifications. So if you have a desire to inspire the next generation around STEM. Now, obviously, we're on an IMechE call, so people who are IMechE members are going to have a level of experience and knowledge around engineering. So we are not talking about those who have literally no understanding or expertise or knowledge around STEM on this call particularly. But even then, people who have been working in an engineering organization but maybe don't have a STEM job title are still feeling like maybe they're not quite qualified enough. And I truly believe that is a myth. That is not true. Similar to that, I need STEM qualifications, and we already know that you don't need STEM qualifications to be a STEM ambassador. I need to join an organised activity. So rather than going and engaging with a school independently, there's this feeling of like I need to be involved in something bigger or more organised, and therefore you're waiting for the right opportunity. Whereas actually, like some people have put in the chat already, going and doing a school assembly, a school, a local school to you could be looking for somebody to go and talk about their job in Science Week, say. and just reaching out to local schools, totally ad hoc and totally, organized by yourself, is absolutely fine. So you don't need to be part of a big organized activity like the Big Bang Fair or one of those. It can just be very local, individual activities to you as well. And again, so needing to know schools, you don't have to have your own children at schools or be involved with schools already. You can reach out to schools, your local school, or reach out to schools through the STEM Learning Hub once you become a STEM ambassador, and you will have plenty of opportunity to work with schools. So there is no prerequisite to needing to know schools beforehand. I need to be more confident first. That's something that I hear a lot. And there's two elements to confidence. There's confidence with sort of the what they see as the technical content and talking about STEM technically. And then there's confidence with the actual public engagement element of it and actually engaging with young people. And maybe this is sort of to Henry's point about a bit nervous about being alone with a lot of children. Firstly, you won't be alone. I mean, I think it's very unlikely, if not won't happen, that you are completely alone with children unless you set up your own after school STEM club and you're running that more officially. But going into a school, the teacher and or the teaching assistant will always be there, certainly in my experience. John, do you have anything to add to that around a bit nervous about being alone with children, needing to be confident with that?
No, I was going to make 2 points. Firstly, what you just said, if you go into a school, there will always be a teacher or assistant there. You'll never have to face a class on your own. With other one, if you are a little nervous, then look for many of the events that the institution organises on a regional basis, outreach and STEM activities, and join in with that initially and get used to it. But once you work with a group of children, you'll get so much from it. Your nerves will go. There'll be no problem there.
Absolutely. And I wonder if this is a good point to mention then, John, about how members can get involved in their regional STEM outreach activities organised regionally by REOs, so that if they're doing something for the first time, they absolutely don't need to be on their own.
Absolutely. The Midland region is exceptionally strong on outreach and STEM activities. And if you look on, this applies for a lot of regions as well, but if you look on the regional website, if you go onto the Near You website on the IMechE, then you can see all the activities that are being run. And you'll often find that they are looking for volunteers to help out at various events. I'll come on to later some of the events that are handled when we talk about what's in it for you bit. But there's a lot of information on the Near You website, and you can usually find something in your local area that one of the regions are organising.
Fantastic. And I can see that Yelena's put that link in the chat as well. Thank you, Yelena. So being able to look at what your regional area is and what is already being organised and sort of something that you could join in with locally, that'd be a fantastic way to start to build your confidence and build your familiarity with the kind of things that you could do and kind of test and explore what you enjoy doing, so that then maybe you can go and take that out on your own to schools if you want to. Now, kind of linked to that comment about nervous about being alone with a lot of children is this worry about needing to manage children's behaviour. If children are, even if they're not sort of being disruptive, but they're just overexcited and they're all talking and they're not listening to you. And an element of that is likely to happen, especially with young children. But as John said, you won't be in the room on your own. and it's not your responsibility to manage the children's behavior. So the teacher will be there, and it's always good to have a quick chat with the teacher beforehand about how you might manage that situation if the children are not listening, or they're causing some disruption in the class. And the teacher, it should be their responsibility to manage children's behavior if it needs managing. You are there to run a STEM session and deliver the STEM inspiration and engagement and information to the young people. You're not there to manage behavior of 30 kids going wild. So having a conversation, a quick chat, like just needs a quick chat with the teacher beforehand to just make sure that expectation is clear and set, so the teacher knows to step in. Now, in my experience of doing a lot of primary school STEM outreach, it can happen, mainly because the kids are so excited and they can start to get a little bit overly high energy and there's lots of noise, and the teacher has their ways of bringing the class back to attention. It can be a quick clap thing, or a sort of a keyword that they say that all the kids know they need to repeat, and it just gets everyone back focused on you so you can continue delivering. So it is something that, especially with young children, the behavior might be something that is a bit nerve-wracking if you're not used to being around young people, but remember the teacher is there to help with that. Do you have anything more to add on that, John? Have you had any experience of kids going wild and not listening to you?
Yes. A couple of weeks ago, I was running we had 6 schools come into the Backcountry Museum on a STEM day. And the last one that came in, I didn't know until I came that they were a special needs class.
Wow.
But you know, they weren't disruptive. They were keen and eager. The only person who put you off a little bit until you realised was the one who came in and just put his head down and went to sleep, and that was it till the end of the lesson. But no, there's, as you say, the teachers, they look after that side of it. So never had a major problem there.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, and then we've got another couple here, common ones that I need to know about other areas of engineering, not only my own. So that's sort of linking to this lacking confidence around feeling like you've got enough knowledge. And actually, again, I would say talking about your own area, what you do is absolutely fine. Linking it into the wider STEM or maybe other areas of engineering to broaden the young people's awareness is fantastic, but it only has to be at an awareness level, no deeper than that, really, if that's not your area. Just letting them know that this range of other areas that they might be interested in is out there, and there is a lot of support resources that you can just basically use, like from Tomorrow's Engineers, from STEM Learning, from the IMechE, that give you the kind of resources that you can use to share that information. So you don't have to create loads of slides or loads of worksheets or anything yourself. There is information out there that you can just use that will help give a broad overview of STEM, and then you can go into your area of expertise or your area of experience. So I would say, again, that is not a barrier to you becoming a really effective STEM ambassador. And then we've got another one saying that young people don't want to listen to old people. And on the flip side of that, I'm not senior enough. And I think both of those, sort of whatever end of the spectrum that you are, you can still be an inspiring STEM ambassador. And young people are always interested by something new, and you are new and interesting to them. So you will always be sort of, never feel that you don't have something to offer just because of either your age or your experience or your qualifications. You absolutely do have a lot to offer.
Can I just add on that one?
Yes.
People might recognise that I'm not quite young now, but providing you're enthusiastic and you're telling a good story to them, they will listen. It doesn't matter who you are, what you are. If you are enthusiastic, telling a good story, and you're keen on what you're doing, they will listen. There's no problem with that.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then this last big one that was mentioned as well earlier, Hannah mentioned that about time commitment. So, and I've put this in the myths, it is real as well. It is a fact. Like, we are so busy in our lives, in our day jobs and everything. So finding the time to do STEM outreach as well, that is a real challenge. But it doesn't have to stop you being a STEM ambassador. Because if you remember on the STEM Learning website, it said really your commitment is a minimum of 1 STEM outreach activity a year, which can just be a 20-minute assembly. It doesn't even have to be in person. It could be online, delivered via Zoom into the classroom. That is still a STEM outreach activity. And that could literally take 20 minutes out of one of your days at one point in the year. So you can create the time. So I've put it in the myths, but I do also appreciate it is one of the barriers. And depending on the kind of thing you're doing, and also the type of person you are as to whether you do loads and loads of preparation beforehand, it does take up time. I get that. So, but then you've got to look at the flip side of the benefits, okay, which we are absolutely going to get onto. But just before we do that, I think there's some other things that look like, which I think we've covered pretty much, things holding us back from doing more, which some people have put in the chat. And so definitely time, as we've just talked about, confidence, ideas. So ideas, and like John said, linking in with your local regional education officer and education outreach sort of branch is great if you want someone else to think of the ideas and you join in with that. But if you've got your own ideas as well, then absolutely bring those to the table. And I think once you get more confidence around doing these, you are naturally, as engineers or with an engineering sort of background or whatever you're doing in your engineering sort of journey so far, you will have that natural creativity to bring new ideas to the table. And actually, doing STEM outreach is a fantastic way of generating new ideas. So that's a fantastic one to do. Another challenge is company support. Some companies are fantastic with supporting, others less so. So, that's one of the things, but John's going to get onto that, talking about the benefits to companies as well. And logistics, actually just like getting to the school, like logistics of working out timings and things, some of that can be things that hold us back. But I don't want to focus too much on that, because we absolutely can overcome those challenges, and we want to focus more on benefits today. So what are the benefits for me? So I want to quickly do another poll. So if you go back to Slido, I want those who have already done some STEM outreach, please to put in what you feel the benefits are for you as an individual. So what have you already experienced as benefits as an individual, please? And let's just see some of the stuff that starts coming up. I can see in the chat that Yelena has put some links to resources that are great. Thank you, Yelena. So people who are looking at those kind of ideas, or where you can start with, say, a few slides or something like that, you can have a look at those resources. Okay, let's see what's coming up in this slide. Learn from other ambassadors. Absolutely. Built confidence. Yeah, fantastic. That's that. I totally agree with that. I'd say being a STEM ambassador over about the last 15 years for me has been one of the major things that has built my confidence with public speaking, public engagement. So that is absolutely such a huge, huge benefit. Always learning. Yeah, absolutely. It's great. Feel good factor. Yes, it feels good. Absolutely. It absolutely feels good. Fantastic. So I'm going to leave that poll going while I hand over to John, because John, I'd love to hear from you in all your experience as a STEM ambassador and in your role as well with the IMechE. What do you see are the benefits for an individual?
Thank you. I'm going to group it into 3 areas, to be honest. First, I'm going to say is personal satisfaction. I think what you get out of any of these STEM events is far, far more than what you put in. as I say, from an institution point of view, we run STEM in, I suppose, in two ways. Yes, we go into schools occasionally, but that's not our major activity. Our major activity is getting involved in shows, exhibitions, anything like that, where we can engage with a high number of children. Give some examples of that. Fairly recently, we went to the RAF Cosford Air Show. It's one of the biggest air shows in the UK. And we had two activities on the go. We had 350 children take on one activity and 250 take on the other.
Wow.
And we were a little bit busy the whole day. We had 10 volunteers manning the stand, so it went quite well. The feedback is, though, whenever we run this is about the fourth year I've run Cosford, plus I've run shows in Imagineering and various other places. But the feedback we always get is so positive, and nearly every volunteer wants to come back and do it the next year. We run from year to year, quite honestly, with a lot of the same people. Okay, so some drop out from time to time for various reasons, but they really enjoy it. Plus, benefit for yourself, well, you get a free day out at Cosford Air Show, and that costs a fortune if you want to pay to go there, so that's good. I mentioned the Black Country Museum. We went to had the school activities there, and again, this is where you don't go into schools; they come to you. So we had 6 schools bring in their classes, and their theme for the day was bridges. And so I'd already developed a program where we actually build bridges out of matchsticks and lollipop sticks. And we get the children to build them to their own design. We do a very short introduction with a few slides, because, to be honest, activity is what the children want, not sitting listening to people talking and viewing slides. But you do an introduction, then they build it. And the fun part is, once they build it, I've got a rig that I've got, which I then break it to see what load it'll take. And they really love that. It gets competitive. They challenge each other, and they all seem to be so enthusiastic. And what amazed me, that I mentioned there was a special needs class, and even they were so imaginative, so eager to work. And there's no disappointment if the bridge didn't work. They had fun. And I think that's the great thing, having fun. If the children can have fun, that's great.
Absolutely.
We support also things like the Malvern Festival and the Goblin event. And we run a fanboat program where we train people to go into schools to run a program that the IMechE have. I can give people more details on that if they want it, but that's a fanboat program.
And Henry's just asked in the chat, does it count towards CPD?
Absolutely.
So something like going to one of those days that you said where they're kind of organised and you ask for volunteers to turn up and help, does that count towards CPD? 100%
towards CPD, yeah. Cosford is a 12-hour day, so that's good CPD hours, but it's a long day. But yes, everything like that is countable for CPD, no problem there.
Great.
So that is the personal satisfaction. I think, to me, that is the biggest by far reward you get out of it. People who come on it enjoy it so much, and then, I think on every event I've had, I've never had anyone who hasn't enjoyed it and gone away saying, I really wanted to do that again, even if they've never done it before. So that's great. Alex mentioned the company benefit. I go into a lot of companies now with the IMechE accrediting their schemes. So I see a lot of companies, I talk to a lot of companies about their training schemes. And the great high number of companies now are building outreach and STEM activities into their programs. It's something they feel they really need to do. and it's growing even more. So if you can say with your company that you're supporting their outreach activity, they would probably be very pleased to have someone of their employees volunteer to help them with their outreach. So from a company point of view, it might give you a few brownie points with the company on the fact that you're willing to do that.
And does it actually help the company to have their employees involved in STEM outreach? Does that help the company get accredited for Npds?
Absolutely. It's a critical part of Npds. They won't actually get Npds fully if they don't have some form of outreach or STEM activity. It's an inbuilt part of Npds now. But even outside of Npds, it is a big part of what the company the view of the company is. If people can see that they're doing outreach into the community activities, not always STEM, but it's an outreach into the community activity.
Just to clarify, in case people don't know what Npds is, do you want to explain, John?
Monitored Professional Development Scheme. It's a training scheme developed by the IMechE principally for graduates to get through to membership.
Yeah.
So the third aspect that I mentioned is professional membership itself.
Mm-hmm.
If you are going for chartered or incorporated membership, then we do look for what outreach and STEM activities you've been involved in. For a member, charter member or incorporated member, it is something that is well appreciated and it's often looked at. If you want to become a fellow, it is one of the key requirements. It's not just something that's nice to have, it's something that you must have. It's, I've actually quoted, it's E4. No, it isn't, it's one of the others. But it is one of the key elements of being a fellow. So you must have that. So if you can build it up, it's great. But I think the best thing is it's fun, it's great. You get a lot of feedback from the children. And I can always say, I think you walk away from those events feeling good. And I think that's great.
Absolutely. Thanks for that, John. I really appreciate that. And I think it's we've seen a lot of people that have put in the Slido poll the benefits that they've experienced, and things like growing confidence, is definitely something that is very common in people in terms of their personal benefits. Growing skills, so presentation skills, communication skills. You are constantly having to stretch your own comfort zone when you're doing STEM outreach in a good way. Like John said, it's very rewarding, it's very satisfying, but you always learn something and you always stretch yourself a little bit, because it's one of those scenarios where you never know exactly what's going to happen. So you will always get a random question or something from a child, and it's brilliant to be able to test yourself in that live scenario and build your confidence with that live public engagement and live public speaking, essentially, whether you're speaking to one child, 5 children, 30 children, 100 children. It's that kind of safe space in a way. Your career does not it's not like career kind of risky moment. This is just you personally having the opportunity to develop your skills. Building local community relationships. So that is really, really important again, and I think that's fantastic. And another one I hear is this falling in love with STEM again. And some people who maybe in a way become a bit disillusioned in their own jobs for whatever reason, they actually fall in love with STEM and engineering all over again because they're seeing the spark in the next generation. So it is such a rewarding thing to do. And that's sort of exactly what John was saying, that sense of personal achievement. But also very, very real benefits for you are, as John said, chartership and fellowship. And, for the fellowship side of it, absolutely, it's necessary as part of your fellowship application to be able to demonstrate what you're doing there to inspire the next generation. So such a valuable thing to do. Yanka has put in the chat, does being an Npds mentor count as a STEM activity? Do you know about that, John? Oh, I think you're on mute, John.
Does being a mentor count as STEM activity? I don't honestly know that. I suppose with some of the activities you undertake as a mentor, yes, it would definitely be counted as a STEM activity. But mentoring on a normal basis, I don't think you could count everything as STEM. No, you'd have to judge on what is actually sort of educational side and what is just guidance from a company point of view.
Yeah. And on the company bit, so lots of benefits for your company. So if one of your barriers to getting involved is maybe that your company is not as supportive as you'd like them to be, showing them the benefits for the company, for more staff getting involved in STEM outreach is really good. And I know a lot of companies do have volunteer days where, you know, employees get paid for maybe one day a year where they can go and do some volunteering. And this could absolutely be used for that. So we've got only a few minutes left. So I just wondered if anybody's got any experiences, if anybody wants to kind of put their digital hand up and share any of their own STEM ambassador experiences, mainly around how you've benefited or overcome challenges, or ideas that have worked well just in the last couple of minutes. If anybody wants to share, that's great, but I really appreciate everything you've been sharing already here. So anybody in the last couple of minutes want to just let us know anything that they've benefited or challenges that they've overcome, those STEM ambassadors on the call? No worries, if not, that's fine. Maybe feel free to put something in the chat if you've got anything that you wanted to share. I can see another question from Henry. Do colleges have STEM ambassadors in, say, the new T levels? So do you mean just will STEM ambassadors go into colleges, or do the colleges themselves have STEM ambassadors? Would you mind unmuting Henry just for a sec? I don't know if you know about that one, John, in colleges at T level, to do with STEM ambassadors. I mean, obviously STEM ambassadors can go into colleges. That's a great thing to do. Yeah,
a lot of the colleges and universities have STEM ambassadors. So I'd imagine that those running the T level courses would, yes, have ambassadors already within the actual college. Yeah. And Henry's just clarified there, yeah, where STEM ambassadors go into colleges. So yeah, absolutely, yeah, going into colleges is absolutely STEM outreach, and they need STEM ambassadors to do that, to inspire the kids about the next step on. Calvin's put, how do you keep yourself motivated when there is no response from your audience? I would say is going to be, I don't know if you mean like right now or actually when you're doing it with kids, but when you're doing it with kids, you often find that you will always get a response. Kids are very, very responsive. So there's never any challenge or problem with that at all. The only problem is your older children are the ones that tend to not react. The younger ones are great, but yeah, you can normally get something back from them. And this is where the practical activity really comes into its own, isn't it, John? You can really get that engagement with the older kids if you get them practically engaged in something. Absolutely. So I'm aware we've come to the end of our time. I just wanted to share some amazing stats that the IMechE has with STEM ambassadors. So, you know, this is absolutely a fantastic thing to sort of become part of and become part of this real success story that the IMechE already has. And because there is so much experience and resources available, it kind of makes this quite easy for you to start on your STEM ambassador journey. So definitely look into that. Definitely sign up to the rest of our training series, and hopefully we will see you at those. And I'll just hand over to Yelena to close up. So apologies for running a couple of minutes over time.
Thank you, Alex, and thanks everybody for your engagement today. I hope you found it useful. I just wanted to pick up a few points before everybody rushes off. I know there was a question about international, and I intentionally shared this with our international members as well. Now, although you may not be linked to STEM learning in particular, a lot of our advice and a lot of the benefits, they are worldwide, so they're very applicable to wherever you're based I won't give prescriptive advice with regards to DBS checks, because I'm not sure whether you need to have a criminal record checks to go into schools, depending on where you are. But I'm sure within your local areas, your regions, you will have member support. And if you want to get involved in outreach, I suggest that you start with a local school, or perhaps if you have children, the school that they go into, or anywhere locally that you might be able to support. Use our STEM at Home range. All of the materials available freely online. You can purchase all of the kit again online, and hopefully you can watch and get involved in the trainings and take away the benefits and the experience that we've had shared today. Now, I'm very conscious of time, so I won't go any further than that. I hope you found this valuable. I hope you'll join us for the rest of the series, and in particular, if you would like to come to headquarters for the face-to-face outreach session, which is an all-day workshop, we would be very keen to welcome you there. I'd like to take the opportunity to again thank our regional education officers that have joined, and in particular, John Butler, who does so very much for us and is one of my favorites, although I shouldn't say this, regularly in touch with me. Yeah, so thank you very much. And Alex, thank you for your time.